Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Guys, let's hear the weirdest, unexplainable stories you have. Here's mine. Walking to party down the street. My friend's dad's van pulls into the convenience store. No other van in town like it. Has Vietnam vet sticker on the driver's side backseat window. Run up fast as I can. It's not my friend's dad. Man in a baseball cap that looks nothing like my friend's dad whatsoever. We look into each other's eyes briefly and I walk away like nothing happened. Text friend. The van's been here the whole time.
I grew up in my grandmother's house. It was her, my mom, me, and my sister. Other family would come to visit, but that's just how it was. Growing up, I had knowledge of a certain photo that was taken in the house. I knew it was ghostly in nature, but was never told much about it or shown it until my early teens. Apparently, it was a pair of disembodied eyes, but when I did get to look at it, it was literally just two slightly brighter points of light near each other on a family photo. Unimpressive, right? A second happening, repeatable almost every night, was the stairs between the upstairs and the ground floor would creak as though someone was walking up and down them. Opening your door or waiting for it to happen would end it. I never thought much of this or took it as actual proof, but it was something more concrete to hold on to. As I got older, probably 16 I think, I got a chance to move down into the basement of the house. We never kept anything down there really, so it was a lot of empty space. The layout of that place is still fresh in my mind. You come down to the stairs and on your immediate left is a door into a small storage closet. Then, open the basement. On the far side, another door, into the laundry room, where the deep sink and washer dryer were. From there, past the machines was a crawl space, and on the opposite side of that was a tiny room, with no official door, just an old plastic slider on a track. The thing about that tiny room, it was my grandfather's room. He and my grandmother did not get along well, and when he wasn't drinking, he was in that tiny room, with his tiny cot, his old-fashioned TV, and his boats, models and original alike, planes too. He was in the Navy in the Second World War. This is important for later in the story. After my grandmother died, it didn't take long for my grandfather to drink himself to death, and I won't pretend that wasn't what it was. It was shortly after that happened that I was allowed to move into the basement. Not into that tiny room. We stuck a deep freezer and some boxes in there and called it storage. His models. I moved into the bulk of the basement. We had ledges and shelves and such. That basement was where it all happened. By all I mean everyone else's experiences. This was 2001 to 2003. I was 16, 18 during the times of activity. I slept on the couch down there, as opposed to that cot in the back. Wasn't even a pull-out. I just found the couch comfortable. I had a computer at that point, Windows XP. 2 coffee tables, one with a big TV on it and my NES GameCube on it, and a smaller TV hooked up to some other systems in the corner, with a chair. 'Twas a fortress of pathetic boyhood, but it was mine. 2001, my aunt was staying down there for the night. I was at a friend's house anyway. I didn't find out till after that she'd heard someone calling her name from in the basement. Not just the basement, but the crawl space in the laundry room. This confused me because I had been down there for 3 months by this point, and nothing like that ever happened to me. The activity on the stairs was the only solid abnormal activity in the entire house till that point. The stairs did run over that crawl space though, so I told myself they were simply talking about her, and it couldn't possibly have been anything in the crawl space. It never happened again, and I never so much as heard a peep. Late 2001, early 2002, things started to get weird. I had the occasional nightmare that the laundry room door would swing open, and inside was a vast darkness that would terrify me right up the basement stairs. Halfway up the stairs, I would become suddenly weak and unable to so much as even crawl another step up them, while the darkness got closer. I never did look back in those dreams. This was made all the worse by waking up in the mornings to the very door in question being open. Middle of 2002, I dared bring my girlfriend down those stairs and into that basement. I still had not had an official experience in my mind, so when I left her alone for all of 5 minutes and returned to her sobbing in the dark, I have no idea how the lights got turned out. The switch to them was upstairs and I didn't hit them on the way up, and telling me someone was touching her and that there was a pounding coming from the floor, like someone was under the floor slamming their fist against it. She promptly left and I went with her. When I returned to the basement, no matter where I pressed my ear to the floor, I heard nothing. At this point, I was disappointed. I wanted a personal experience so bad, regardless that everyone else who had one was terrified. I did not feel that bad dreams and an old latch on a knob were ghostly activity enough. I wanted proof so bad, personal proof, that I could taste it. Late 2003. Graduation day had come and gone. I graduated with the class of 2003 and was still in that basement. I had a job close enough that I could bike to work, so there was that. Still, no experiences until that night. It was September 7th, 5 days after my birthday. I woke up to two things, either of which on their own would not have concerned me. First, a Charlie horse that you would not believe. I know that simply standing up fixes those, but when I slipped off the couch, I fell to the ground. The pain was horrible in my right calf, and I couldn't bring myself to unfold my body when I heard the laundry room door unlatch and the groan of it opening. It was the middle of the night. The only light in the room basement was coming in through the blinds, a combination of moonlight and streetlight and my alarm clock. So inside the laundry room was pitch black, like in my nightmare. And here I was, crumpled up on the floor, nowhere near the steps, the smell of beer and urine. I have no idea why, but that's what was coming out of that laundry room. Strong enough that I gagged. I was terrified. Fear and that smell smothered me. All I could do was stare into the blackness, clutching my calf, heart pounding. The smell faded maybe 10 minutes later. I unfolded myself, stood up, and limped up the stairs. Hit the lights, came back down. Investigated an empty laundry room that if anything smelled like soap. I moved out shortly after, just got a better job and left home. I never experienced anything else in that house, and it was sold not long after I moved out. I dream of one day owning or at least returning to that house, finding out what the hell happened in that basement that night, all those other nights.
I have two I can recall. Well, three actually. When I was younger, I dreamt my floor was made of those weird blue caterpillars. I had blue carpet in my room, but it was like the whole floor was covered in these guys, and it was moving, and just like, that's what I was seeing. Then my dad came in, and even then I saw them. I even had a cat at the time named Lucky, and he came in, and they were still there. I mean, obviously I was just seeing things, but still, it really terrified me. Also, I used to have these Jurassic Park raptor toys, like the ones where you turn the knob and they're supposed to spin and kick each other, and the goal is to hit the other one in the chest and knock it off the stand. Well, anyway, when you would spin the knob, it would make raptor noises. Anyway, I kept these in a room which was like my computer room, toy room when I was way young. No, I didn't use the internet or anything, just games like Deer Hunter or Lego Island. Anyway, these things would always go off at really odd hours of the night and just terrify the shit out of me. I kept them in a chest when I wasn't using them, and there is just no reason why they should have been going off. I didn't think about it for the longest time, but lurking this for some reason reminded me of it. Then also earlier this year, I was on vacation with my girlfriend in St. Augustine, and we were on our way back to our hotel from the beach. I was driving on a dimly lit part of the road, and it was sort of late at night when all of a sudden this huge white wolf-looking thing ran out in front of my car. I swerved hard to avoid hitting it. It was on all fours, and the bottom of its stomach was still higher than the hood of my car. It really, really scared me, and I still just absolutely can't explain it.
When I was in high school, I can't remember what grade. Sometime after I was legally allowed to drive by myself, but not much after that. I drove over to a friend's house. It was already dark by the time that I arrived, and no one was home. This is in the back country, so no houses nearby. Whatever. We had a habit of that time of going for walks, often to his mother's house, which was just a little ways down the road. Couldn't have been a couple miles. I decided my friends must have done just that. I figure, why not? I'm walking, minding my own business, out of sight of the house and my rig by a good distance, when I hear what sounds like my friends out in the woods. I can clearly hear my friend who always has his guitar playing, and my other friends singing along. Those fuckers didn't invite me. I cross the road and I'm about to walk out into the woods to join them, maybe fucking scare them. A car is coming. I get this weird urge to hide from the car. I have no reason to. Usually we would talk to anyone we met on the way. Fun shit. But not this time. Oh no, I decided to hide from this rig. I'm watching it closely, like I'm worried about it for some reason. I can see the headlights, and just when it is almost too late, I recognize my friend in the front seat. Well, that's weird. I step out and of course my friend sees me and stops. I told them what I was doing and that I was about to walk out to whoever was having the party. I turn around. No sound. Not a single noise. Dead quiet. They shut off the engine. No music, no one playing and singing along. Fucking weird. I get in the car, the radio doesn't work. Wasn't that either. What the hell? I take them the next day and show them where I was about to enter the woods. Right where I would have ended up was an old house that had burned down years and years ago. So long the woods have grown up around it. What would have happened to me if my friends hadn't driven by at that exact moment? What was I hearing? Why did I decide to hide from an approaching rig? I mean, what the hell? It didn't bother me that much then. But the more and more I think about it, the more and more that shit bothers me even years later. I mean, really, what almost happened to me?
This story is pretty much the strangest that ever happened to me, even though it isn't much compared to stuff in this thread. I was around 12 and spent the summer holiday in my grandmother's house. I was antisocial even back then, so I spent my time reading books until late at night. Shit went down around 3 a.m. I decided to go to sleep, turned off the lights, but forgot to open the curtains, so the room was pitch black. I couldn't see anything. After a minute or so, I heard a creak, the only window in the room opening. I got scared and wrapped myself in a blanket. That's how I know it wasn't sleep paralysis. I could move. Then slow, heavy steps started moving from the window towards my bed. I almost pissed myself. I tried my hardest to pretend I was asleep while steps were getting closer and closer. And then they reached the bed and stopped. I was lying there breathless, covered in sweat for minutes before getting up and turning the lights on. The room was empty, the window closed.
My girlfriend is blind, so her hearing is way more sensitive than mine, even disregarding hearing damage I have from shooting guns without earplugs as a kid. She keeps hearing voices at night, but I never hear a thing. We figure it's the neighbor's TV or something, but it creeps her out. My job keeps me out in the woods for days, sometimes over a week at a time. I've taken her camping once or twice, but only in tourist trap parks. She can't handle rough terrain, and I'm afraid she'll fall into the campfire or something. I've never told her about the weird shit I've seen in the woods. It'd freak her out. She's easily frightened on a good day. Once she tried to scare me and jumped out to yell boo, and smacked face first into the wall. And the kind of shit I've experienced creeps a lot of people out. I honestly don't find it that creepy. I'm not scared of shit in the woods, I just have a healthy respect for it. That said, I don't go looking for trouble. So here's my no shit there I was. Innawoods story. Several years ago, camping alone in Texas hill country. Hear twigs snap in woods and look up. Eyes reflecting light from the fire, about 6 feet off the ground. Shine surefire at eyes to see what they are. Nothing there. Turn light off. Eyes blink rapidly because of the light. Shine light again. Nothing is there. Turn light off. Eyes blink rapidly, then begin circling the campfire. Flip off safety on FAL. Hear the branch snap behind me, turn around. 2 more sets of eyes, fuck this. Dump magazine at the 2 sets of eyes, save a few rounds for the first set. Reload, look around. All 3 pairs of eyes are together and further back in the woods, staring at me. Fuck you, have some more 308. Eyes disappear. Spend the night in the blazer instead of the tent. Next morning, the tent is torn to shreds and poles are all bent and broken. Light sleeper, but never heard a thing. About a month later, camping a few miles from the same spot with some friends. Tell them about a weird experience in a woods and they don't believe me. Branch snaps. All 3 of us turn and see a pair of eyes looking at us. Dude, quit messing with us. Shine flashlight, nothing there. Turn the light off, eyes blink. Look around, see another pair of eyes behind us. Both pairs begin circling us. Hear a deep growl. Mad minute. Empty FAL, 12-gauge shotgun, and .357 Magnum at the eyes. Eyes disappear. Reload. Idiotically decide to charge into the woods after them. Find blood on a couple leaves and a tree branch. It looks black. Guys, why aren't there any footprints or anything? Did they fly? Forget this. Let's head back to camp. Spent night in Blazer again. All of us cradling guns. Ice chest full of sodas is missing the next morning. A week later, we decide to mount an expedition to kill or capture whatever the eyes are. I pack my FL and CZ-52. Friend 1 packs his shotgun and 1911. Friend 2 brings his .357 and is too poor to have a second gun. Friend 1's dad is a retired Army Ranger and wants to come too. Brings his .45-70, his 1911, and loans Friend 2 an M1 carbine. Camp out in the same spot as last time. Don't see or hear anything odd. Everyone climbs into the big canvas tent Friend 1's dad brought for us to sleep in. Wake up, Friend 2 is shaking me. You hear that? Turn the light on. See something pressing against the tent near the top. Friend 1's dad stabs it through the tent with a Bowie knife. Deafening scream. Everyone piles out of the tent, guns ready. See 3 pairs of eyes circling the camp. The fire is almost burned out. Everybody opens up their eyes. Eyes disappear. Toss wood onto fire, search the area and find no footprints, no blood trail, no disturbed bushes, nothing. Return to camp, discover bottle of Jägermeister and a portable radio are missing. Examine blood on the knife blade, so dark it looks black. Friend 1's dad cleans the knife. Everyone stays up the rest of the night, nothing odd seen or heard. Search area by day, find nothing. Go home disappointed. I've since gotten my Innawoods job and a little less trigger-happy and stupid. Been back to camp in the same general area several times, never seen or heard anything like that since. Seen other creepy shit in the woods, but so long as you don't fuck with it, it generally leaves you alone.
This story is still ongoing and shit, but it started when I was 13. My friend and I were dumb and would sit in my backyard next to the door to the garage and try to talk to dead people at 3 a.m. and shit. Nothing ever happened, and we were disappointed, though I did start to get the weird feeling that I was being watched whenever I was in the garage alone. Fast forward, I'm 15, and my boyfriend moves into the garage. Shit starts happening. Around 2 a.m. we'd hear this low, crackly cat-like screech outside the garage door. It was like a cat, but not. We'd open the door, but see nothing. He'd always try to be asleep before 5 a.m. because around that time he claimed he would hear old-timey music playing and a faint woman's voice singing, "I'm going to get you." Every now and then the door handle would jiggle and he would feel something walking on his bed, and it wasn't my cat. Fast forward to now, I'm 19. Said boyfriend is an ex now and moved out. New boyfriend visits me every couple weeks and isn't allowed to actually sleep in my room because I live with an old-fashioned grandma. Whenever he goes to sleep on the couch, he hears the door handle from the garage to our kitchen jiggle. And one morning about 3 weeks ago, we found we couldn't close that door. Something had damaged the lock, like someone was trying to get inside. That door is solid wood and thick, and that night I was awake and heard not a sound. Now that nobody is in the garage at night, I guess whatever is out there is trying to get in the house.
I rarely speak about this, but only a few weeks ago I was sleeping in the afternoon on a Saturday. No one in my house was home. All of my relatives were either working or out doing what they do. I suddenly woke up at about 5:30, I'd say, and I heard the front door open. Odd. I looked out my window and none of my family's cars were there. So I shrugged it off, thinking maybe it was exploding head syndrome or whatever. Except I could hear someone downstairs talking to all of my dogs, which were now barking like mad men. The person was male, sounded about my age, and kept saying, "Calm down, geez, hush up," to my dogs, trying to get them to stop barking. At this point, I flipped my shit. I locked my door and grabbed my Mosin Nagant rifle, loaded 5 rounds into it, and lowered my head to my floor, trying to listen to what was being said now. I heard no one talking and my dogs were not barking, but I heard my PS3 and TV. Someone or something was on my PS3, flipping through Netflix or the main menu. My first thought was, home intruder. Some guy is stealing my shit. Oddly enough, I was really calm in my realization that someone I didn't know was now in my house. I had a loaded rifle in my hand that could easily end just about anyone in one hit to the chest. I had an idea though. If I was going to risk shooting someone, I better double check and make sure it isn't a relative. I called literally every single family member who lives in my house. My brother, my sister, my brother-in-law, my mother. My dad works in a factory where he doesn't have the capability of a phone, and he never gets off early, plus doesn't know how to PS3. It was none of them. I raised my gun and went to my stairwell. My stairs are creaky as shit because it's wood and oldish house. About halfway down the steps, I heard the PS3 off tone that you hear if you hold the center controller button for long enough. So I get to the bottom of the steps. I glance in the mirror at the bottom to see if anyone is standing in the living room. Nope, nobody. I round the corner with my rifle raised. Nothing is there. My TV is on the HDMI 3 channel that my PS3 uses, and my PS3 controller is now sitting on the couch as opposed to its respective table. Oddly enough, my PS3 is on standby as well as opposed to being entirely off. I still didn't panic for some reason. I just felt calm. Only about 5 minutes later, my sister pulled in the driveway, and I told her I think someone broke into our house, so I was going to clear all the rooms. I cleared every room with my Mosin Nagant. Nothing. Nada. Strangest thing that has ever happened to me.
That's eerie. Possibly some sort of temporary interdimensional merge? And that other person was a relative of yours, or possibly even you, from an alternate timeline or universe who temporarily became present in this timeline universe and you in his, which is why he would notice you coming down the stairs and turn off the PS3 to go investigate. It would also explain why the dogs would bark like that. He would not really belong to this timeline universe, and animals are good at picking up anomalies, and also why he would be so familiar with the dogs. Pretty wild speculation, I know. That was just what I instantly thought of.
I'm serious, and you will not believe me because it is messed up. My brother and I go exploring in the new house, go to my parents' bedroom, see closet, decide to look in it, see something vaguely reddish-brown on the wall, move coats aside to get a better look. Looks like dried-up blood. Not much of it, pretty much a single drop. Get an overwhelming sense of fear, like the freezing terror of something that's about to end your life. See white flash. Me and brother are on top of the stairs. I have no memory of how I got there. Don't say anything. Brother says, "Did you see a white flash? 'Cause I did, and then I was here." Go back to the closet later to check if the spot is still there. It's gone. Like I didn't wake up there. I just was there. Like I teleported. The weirdest thing is I recently checked out my parents' closet in a different home, and a similar looking spot is also there. I don't know what any of this was. Anybody here know? Any information on similar phenomenon would be welcome.
Regularly I get deja vu. I get the feeling it's from dreams, but I have only been sure of this once. Have dreams where I am in a dim classroom, sitting in a group. Across from me at the table is a huge guy, and ugly. I don't like saying that. I think it's mean, but he was really ugly. Very memorable mug he had. Think in the dream, there's no way this could be real. And upon that, I wake up. Weird dream. Never seen anyone that looked like that. Then one day in class, we grouped together for something, and there he is. I never noticed how odd he looked, but when face to face with him, I remembered the dream. Like I said, this happens frequently, only I can't pinpoint the dream so well. I feel dizzy and disoriented when it happens. Does anyone know what this is? Am I insane?
I also get deja vu very often, oftentimes them being linked to a dream. For me though, it's very easy to know when it's just regular deja vu, and when it's from a dream, because the times it's from a dream, I remember the entire dream before the event has fully played out, and thus I know exactly what will happen for the next few seconds. My first, as far as I can remember, and most intense one. Dream, I am at bathhouse I have never been to. They have a 10-meter diving board. Jump from diving board. Feel uncomfortable, but don't know why. Feet hit water at a bad angle, causing the impact to compress my spine and make me lose my breath. Unbearable pain, far worse than any other pain I've felt in a dream. Including one time I was shot with a shotgun. Sister notices something is wrong, dives into water, and pulls me up while I'm desperately trying to get air, but I can't. Wake up in shock, terrified at how abnormally real and vivid the dream was. About 4 years later. At the bathhouse for the first time in my life. Feels strangely familiar even though I've never been there. Feel the urge to try the 10-meter diving board. Try it a couple of times. Absolutely loving the thrill. Fetch family to impress them with my daring jumps. Was 11 at the time. As soon as my feet leave the diving board, I remember the dream. The entire scene plays out in my head while I'm falling. Feet hit water at a bad angle, causing the impact to compress my spine and make me lose my breath. Unbearable pain all through my back and chest. Sister notices something is wrong, dives into water, and pulls me up while I'm desperately trying to get air. Lay on ground in shock, the scene replaying over and over again in my head while I regained my breath. After that, I started taking greater heed to my dreams, especially the ones that are uncannily vivid and real. The most interesting part about it, to me, is that the actual moment of me realizing I dreamt the event before was present in the dream. The moment where I felt uncomfortable, even though I couldn't realize it at the time of the dream, since the event had not actually occurred yet.
I know what you mean. This might sound a bit crazy, but you never actually had that dream in the first place. While you were falling, it seemed so much like a dream that it was as if you were reliving a nightmare. I've had a similar near-death experience. Time is not linear, or possibly not even real. So at some points the distortion of the linear structure in our memories can break, and we will feel as though we have seen this before. You may remember it as if you dreamed it before, but really that's just a memory of a memory which only existed in the then future, and now it's in the past. It's very psychologically damaging.
I guess I should have mentioned that I talked about the dream with friends and family immediately after I dreamed it. Believe me, the dream was there. Besides, note that while I fell, I remembered the entire dream, that is including the stuff that hadn't happened yet, and could therefore accurately predict everything that would happen for the next few seconds. I knew I would hit the water wrong. I knew I would lose my breath. I knew my sister would pull me out. I knew how long it would take me to regain my breath. How would I have been able to do that if it was just a psychological glitch? There was nothing special about the jump itself either that would trigger such a glitch. The takeoff and free fall was exactly as the previous times I jumped from that diving board. Trust me, I've considered that it was just all in my mind, but the fact that I predicted everything that happened for the next few seconds accurately, before even hitting the water, and that I had told others about the dream before the event happened in real life, is what gets me every time. I appreciate that you tried to find a logical explanation, though.
I've had so many things happen to me all my life. According to my mother, she thinks our family tree is cursed because of all the weird shit that's happened over the years. One of the earliest ones I can remember happened to my sister. Be around 6, 7, sis is around 4, 5. We used to live in a 2-story house that was down a dirt road with woods around it. Nearest neighbors were about a mile or 2 away. House was pretty old, but in really good condition. Had a barn in the back. We used to play outside and in the barn all the time. One time my sister went outside for a while before I did. I finally get outside, and she's talking to air. I go up to her and ask her what's going on. She responds by saying she's talking to a soldier she met in the barn. I just give her an odd look and blow it off. We run off and play, but she's also talking to her invisible friend. This happens for a few weeks. During that time, I start noticing that she's not sleeping and hardly eating and looks sickly and tired. My great-grandmother comes to visit one weekend, and the split second she walked into the house, she made an odd face. Later on, I hear her talking to my parents about something being in the house when they thought we had gone to bed. Fast forward to a week later, and great-grandma comes back with some stuff that I didn't understand what it was. Scented oils, candles, crosses, and tells us to come to her. She does this weird thing with an uncooked egg. She's chanting in and rubbing the egg over our bodies. She cracks open the egg she rubbed on me, and yolk looks funky. Does the same to my sis, and hers comes out even weirder. Great-grandma proceeds to walk all over the house, spraying the oils everywhere in the house. while chanting and rubbing some kind of smelly bush or grass also. She gets to my sister's closet, and something growls. I couldn't tell what it was or what it sounded like. Suddenly my sister passed out with her eyes rolled back. I can hear my great-grandma arguing with something. Hear the phrases, "Leave," "Get out," and "She's not yours to take." Power flickers, and there's no storms or wind, no reason for it to go out. About an hour later, she comes out of my sister's room and says, "It's gone now," to my parents. Sister wakes up the next day, fine. Later on, I found out that the house belonged to some old numb vet. After that, my sister hasn't had shit happen to her, but I've had more shit happen to me after.
I got two for you guys. Here's the first one. I currently live in an older house that used to be part of the buildings at a World War II military camp near where I live. The camp was shut down after World War II, and part of the buildings in the camp were sold off as housing. About 2 years ago, I noticed something weird that continues to this day. Every night at 11 p.m., I hear footsteps that start at the front of my house near the front door and come all the way back to the just before my bedroom door. My room is in the back of the house. I can never seem to pick up the footsteps on any kind of recording device. Story 2. Living in my first apartment, both me and roommate noticed weird stuff happening. Conclude that we have a ghost, but since nothing bad happens, we decide it must be friendly, aptly name it Casper. One day, my roomie and I are going to catch a movie. I throw my wet clothes in the dryer and we leave. We lock the door on our way out and we have the only 2 keys. Come home several hours later. All my clothes are folded and placed neatly on the couch. All doors and windows were closed and locked, and we lived on the 2nd floor. Couple months later, me and my roomie joked that Casper needed to pitch in for rent. About a week later, me and my roomie worked the same shift at work one day. We get home, $50 on the counter. To this day, we cannot figure out how my laundry got folded or where the $50 came from.
This reminded me of a man that started to notice missing food and goods. One day he discovered a woman living in a closet in his apartment. It happened in Japan, if memory serves me, and some other places. Last night, be hunting deers in public pine forest area not far from the highway, moderately deep into the woods. Michigan, so woods are very deep. Hear a gunshot. Watch in its direction. Don't see anything, must be over a few hills. Probably other hunters. 4 more gunshots consecutive. Sounds like a rifle though. Hunting rifles normally don't shoot so fast. 3 pistol shots from different locations. Pistol shots keep repeating in the same location order. Hear some loud booms, smoke comes up through trees. Lots, like from multiple smoke grenades. Rifle and pistol continue. Automatic guns start going off. Sounds like 6 different rifles firing from different locations. All of this continues. Hear dynamite. Starting to book it out of there. I never heard anything like this before. Slows down, but everything is still firing. Can't see even where I was sitting before the smoke has gotten so thick. Guns continue for 30 minutes. Stops. Then hear multiple large vehicles driving away along with incomprehensible megaphone voice. I live in the middle of nowhere and have never seen military activity.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check the Odyssey and Rumble pages for separate archives of previous broadcasts.